Hey, what's up, everyone? Justin Currie here, founder of Masters of Home Care and current owner of a multi-million-dollar home care agency. And I want to welcome you. This is the Home Care Agency Startup Guide. Now, in this video, I'm going to take you through a lot of the different steps that you're going to need to know in order to launch your own home care agent. So, first off, I want to start off with the importance of home care in today's society. Now, with the baby boomer population growing like it is, they're going to need somebody to care for. And yes, there's a lot of competition in the industry, but there's a lot of people that have licenses that have never got started. So I'm trying to help those people help more people. But just a couple statistics to get us started. 10,000 people every day in the US become age 65. That means the senior population is actually set to double over the next couple of decades. Now, those numbers are absolutely astonishing, and they're going to need people to care for them. So by 2050, 20% of the US population will be age 65 or older. So huge demand for this industry. And we all have to work together to advocate for seniors and make sure that they're getting the care that they really need and deserve. So let's get off with step number one is going to be defining your niche. Now, what services are you going to offer? Who are you going to care for? You can look at elderly care. You can look at those with disabilities. You can look at pediatric care. And let's say you choose elder care. That's what we currently service. We do help those with disabilities, but we're predominantly elder care. So within the scope of elder care, what services are you going to offer to seniors? So you can have dementia care, live-in care. You can have 24-hour care, recovery care for when they're coming out of rehab, light housekeeping, transportation. There's a ton of different services that you can offer. So you really want to find your niche and make sure that you're not spreading yourself too thin. And just make sure that you're really focusing on one, two, or even three key areas. And the next step you're going to want to look at is market research. You want to know your demographic. You want to know your geographical area that you're going to be servicing. So you really want to identify that market, find out what the population is, what the percentage of seniors is, what the percentage of veterans is. You want to know all of these numbers so you know where to target. Median annual household income is super important. People are going to need money to pay for this care. So you really want to target in on and focus on your marketing. Focusing in on local competition is something that's super important. You want to be doing those secret shopper calls. So you call in, you say that you need care for a loved one. You ask them questions. You can get their rates, their geographical area, as much information as you can. You put it in a spreadsheet. And you do that for all your competitors in the area so that you have a good idea of what they're charging. What are their specialties? That's another huge one. You want to find out and you really want to locate what the unmet needs are in your community. What is a service that no one else is providing that seniors need that you can come in and help out with? There's a lot of different home care agencies out there. Most of them are very generic. They might have a specialized program here or there, but they're not really specialized. They don't blow you out of the water with their services in any given area because they're kind of an all encompassing, personal care, dementia care, housekeeping, transportation. They're really spread all over the place. You want to find out what you can be the best at and what's going to set you apart. So the next step is going to be legal requirements. Now, not all states, but most states require a home care agency license. That's usually through, the Department of Health, anything, depend who the authority is in your state. So make sure that you know and understand the licensing requirements in your state. Now, also, some states, not all, require a certificate of need. That means that you have to submit an application to, again, the State Department, whoever in your state is the authority in that area. You put an application in and they determine if there is a need for that or not. And that will determine if you can get your home care agency license or not. So make sure you understand the home care licensing regulations and the certificate of need regulations in your state. And the next step is going to be your business plan. Now, you can use this for guidance, but it's also going to force you to collect a lot of information that you're going to need. Also down the road, they're going to require a business plan. If you require any funding, any payroll fund, anything like that, they're going to require a business plan. So you want to get this done off the start. It's going to include things like your mission, your focus, your core values. It's going to include all the competitor research information. You're going to put your services in there. And also, you're going to have your budgeting and your financial projections in there. So you want to make sure that you have that information all consolidated in one area, and you can use that as a guide. You should be checking back with this frequently. Every month you should be going through your business plan and making sure you're following that plan. And so the next step, once you actually have your agency up and running, you have your license, maybe you have your first couple clients coming in the door, it's going to be caregiver recruitment. So this is something that's really, really difficult in the industry. It's something like 74% turnover rate, which is absolutely crazy. That means basically 7 out of 10 caregivers coming in your office are going to turn over. And most of that happens within the first 90 days. So that 90-day is your target margin. You want to do whatever you can to keep a caregiver past that 90 days. And one thing a lot of people don't really look too closely at is what turnover costs you. You might not want to give out bonuses, hiring bonuses, 90-day bonuses, anything like that. But you have to look at what it costs to turn over a caregiver and have to hire and onboard a new one, because the cost is a lot higher than you think it is. Do you want to concentrate on keeping your caregivers? Because that's ultimately going to be the most economical way that you can do it. And the number one way to get caregivers is an in-house referral program. So caregivers that are referred by other caregivers in your agency, it's proven, it's factual that they stay longer. You're going to retain those caregivers longer. And typically they're going to do a better job because they're there longer. They take more pride in their job. But you want to make sure that you have your in-house referral program to a T, because that's going to be your most important referral source. And now, unfortunately, you need a group of caregivers to be able to start that referral program. So when you're just starting out, you don't have that group built up yet. So you're going to look at things like online job boards. They're going to be huge for you. You can post free jobs on Indeed, ZipRecruiter. We recommend Indeed. Typically, the retention rate is a lot lower with Indeed with caregivers, but you can hire them quickly, and it's pretty much the only option right off the start, unless you know a lot of caregivers in the area. So I would recommend free job ad postings on Indeed, put 10 job ads out, change them, change the location, and make sure that you're bringing in a lot of applicants so that when those clients come in, you're ready to go. You can pull people, you can match them with the right caregivers, and ultimately hire them as quickly as the clients come on board. And another method is going to be job fairs, which I don't highly recommend because it takes a lot of your time. With a job ad on Indeed, you're just posting it and you're letting it work for you while you're doing other things. A job fair, that takes you to physically go to that job fair, and that takes time. So you're losing opportunity cost. You can't do anything else while you're at the job fair. So if you get, say 3 or 4 hires from a job fair, that's great. But let's say you posted 10 Indeed jobs and, you pulled 100 applicants and you hired 10 of those. You're already still further ahead because your outreach is so much more. So just remember that whenever you're spending time doing something, that's an opportunity cost for something else. And the last 2 things I want to mention under caregiver recruitment are consistency. You want to consistently be hiring. So depending on your demand and depending on the amount of leads coming in, you want to make sure that you have X amount of caregivers. So say you have 2 leads coming in a week. You typically want to hire 1.5 caregivers to each client. So if you have 2 leads coming in every week, you should be trying to hire 5 caregivers each week, because that's going to basically allow you to cover those cases, because not all caregivers work full time and not all caregivers have full availability. So you're going to have to mix and match caregivers. So you always want to have more caregivers than you have clients. And now the next step is going to be client acquisition. You need leads coming in to be able to continue to grow your agency. And client leads coming in consistently is of paramount importance, because you have people passing away. You have people moving into assisted living facilities. So with that, you're going to lose those hours, and that can happen quickly. We don't plan when people pass away, but it happens. And unfortunately, a lot of people that pass away, they have a high level of care. So, you might have five caregivers on one case. And when that client passes away, you have five caregivers looking for work. So that's why it's super important to stay consistent with both hiring of caregivers and also of client acquisition, bringing in leads. So one really important thing for bringing in leads is focused marketing strategy. So you want to make sure that you know who the top referral sources are, who matches your avatar, your client, who do you want to go after, who can you best take care of. You want to make sure you know the places they're at. If you're serving high need clients, you want to make sure you're looking at hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, assisted living, rehabs. People go there when they have a high need, a high level of care. So when they come out of there, they typically need help at home. So make sure that you have that focused strategy. The second is going to be online presence. You want to make sure that when somebody searches you, and they will, even if you're referred by a close friend, they're going to search you online. Make sure that you're posting stuff online. They love personal stuff. Post pictures of your office, pictures of you with a client, anything along those lines. Make sure you're posting that on social media. Make sure you're getting a Google My Business profile, post photos on there, and get as many reviews as you can. Reviews are typically quite hard to get in any business, but make sure you're trying to get those Google reviews on there, because that's what ultimately is going to bring you to the top of the search. And also when people look for you, they can see other clients and their testimonials on there. So make sure online presence is something that you're focusing on. And the last one under client acquisition is going to be creating a UVP, which is a unique value proposition or a no-brainer guarantee. There's a lot of different names for it. But what that is what is going to make a potential client or a lead pick your agency no matter what. So let's say there's a client that they have 3 agencies coming in to do assessments. And what is going to make them pick your agency? You can't just say, I have high quality caregivers. We have great management. We cover this area. That's super, super generic. What are you going to tell them? We guarantee the quality of the caregiver. We guarantee your first shift or your money back up to 8 hours. Little things like that reverses the risk for them. You want to make sure that they're comfortable picking you and that they have no risk, that we're guaranteeing that we're going to give them quality service. And the next step is going to be financial management. So when you're first starting your agency, you need to create a budget. There's 2 types of costs. There's fixed costs and there's ongoing. Something that's a fixed cost would be something that you only have to pay once at the start of your agency. And ongoing costs would be something like your office rent. You're paying that on a monthly basis. So that's a revolving cost that's going to happen every month. So separate those, know what your startup cost is, and know what you're going to need on a monthly basis. And the next is going to be payroll and billing. You need to look at this. You need to set this up, make sure you know what programs you're going to need, and also understand what margins you need so that you're not running short on payroll cash. When payroll comes around and you can't pay your caregivers, that's a great way to go out of business. And unfortunately, small businesses, 82% of small businesses fail because of cash flow. So this is super, super important. Make sure you understand your margins and make sure you have tight payment terms. Make sure you're getting paid, because cash flow will be the first thing that could potentially sink your business. And so the last thing I'm going to talk about is scaling and growth. Maybe you've already started your agency, but I want to talk about some of the main restrictors to scaling and to growth. Every agency, and a lot of agencies come to me and they hit a plateau. That sometimes it's different for every agency. It could be at $500,000. It could be at $1 million in revenue, and they've been stuck there for a couple of years. So I want to talk about some of the different restrictors that kind of impede growth in that sense. So number one is going to be having a lack of staff or the wrong staff. Now, I don't mean caregivers. You know how many caregivers you need to staff a case? In the office, if everybody's spread thin, you cannot grow because they're not going over and above. You should always try and hire 20% over what you need in the office, because that's going to allow you to continually grow. Everybody's maxed out in what they're doing. You can't grow. You're going to keep hitting that ceiling. You're going to keep that restriction there. Number two is going to be lack of leads. You just don't have enough leads coming in the office. So you need to be monitoring how many leads are coming in the office, how many of those leads are qualified, and how many of those leads are converting. Make sure you know these numbers because that can be an easy one to say, okay, we only have 2 leads coming in. No much wonder that we're not growing in revenue. We're not outpacing our clients leaving, our retention. So make sure that you understand those numbers. It's going to be lack of leads. And the third one is going to be not hiring enough caregivers. Now, I mentioned this before, but you want to make sure that you have more caregivers than clients. If you have unassigned shifts, you know you don't have enough caregivers. You have to increase your recruiting speed and make sure that you're bringing in more applicants. If you're only hiring 10 people to 100 applicants and you need 20 caregivers, you need 200 applicants. Make sure you know on the front end, how many applicants do you need in? You need to know how many you're converting, and that's going to let you know how many applicants that you need. And the last one is going to be quality issues. So if you're having quality issues, you're losing clients. They're not getting the level of care that you provided, that you promised. So they're leaving, they're going elsewhere. You're losing clients out the back door. So that's called attrition. And some of it you can't control, like people passing away. But if you have a lack of quality, people are going to go elsewhere. That's like one of the number one things that you should be focusing on is that higher quality. Make sure that you're offering a better service than everyone else. So that concludes the list for today. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments, but hit subscribe and check out some of our other videos as well. But other than that, we hope you enjoyed the video and we'll talk to you soon.